All right, guys, I'm going to teach you about the area of a circle, which should be review. I'm hoping we already know how to do this, but maybe we can buzz through some stuff. I did post in Classroom this video right here that explains to you where this formula comes from and why it actually works. I suggest you watch that. You don't have to, but it's very educational. It's kind of cool, the graphics they have on there, and they show you where the formula comes from. The formula, of course, we know is pi times radius squared. It's pretty easy to use. You just plug it in, and we just got to make sure and use the radius. We are going to square it. The thing we have to keep in mind is this is not like our formula we used the other day when we were doing circumference. 2 times radius times pi. This is a different, even though it still has a 2. This is squared. Okay, so we're not using this one today. All right, we're squaring it. Anyway, pi times 5 squared would be 25 pi, and we can multiply that in our calculator and get whatever it is. It's roughly 77, 76, something like that. Okay, you don't have to multiply all that out, but you can. But remember, mathematicians are lazy, and we sometimes just leave it like this. Okay, and just say that it's 25 pi. Just make sure you use the radius. The radius here is 9, so pi times 9 squared would be 81 pi. And of course, you can multiply that in your calculator if you want to. Find the area of the base of a cylinder. Well, the base of a cylinder, maybe you're thinking the bottom, well, it's the same as the top. And I think we would all realize, hey, this is also a circle. So I don't need this height. All I need to do is pi times 2 squared. And 2 squared would be 4 pi square centimeters. All right, so there's 3 pretty easy examples right there about doing area. You just plug in the formula and trust it. Now, let's do a few more that are a little more advanced. Okay, given these coordinates, so if I was going to look at this on the coordinate plane, if I went to the left 1 up 12, and if I went to the right 7 down 3, these would be the endpoints of a circle that are doing something like this. And so the dilemma here is to find the area of this circle when all I know are these endpoints of a diameter. Now, it does say diameter, so this is handy to know that this goes through the center. If I did figure out the diameter, I could get the radius pretty easily, and that's our plan. So we got to do some memory work here. If I drop down a rise and a run, I can create a right triangle. How do I get the rise of this? Well, that's the change in y's. So if I went up 12 and down 3, this side would be 15. If I went to the left 1, but I went to the right 7, this leg down here would be 8. So now I can do this. I can do 8 squared plus 15 squared equals d squared. And when you do this, you get the square root of 289, which is 17. But that's the diameter, which means the radius is half of that, which would be 8.5. Then you're able to find the area, which would be pi times 8.5 squared. This you would need to type into your calculator. I don't have one right offhand, but that's how you're going to do this area. So you may want to pause the video now and try these two. They are the exact same process. But notice the negatives and positives and all that business. For example, if I went up 24 and down 6, well, that side of the triangle would be 30. So just pay attention to that. So pause the video now and do those. Another example here for area would be when you're given the circumference. The circumference is 18 pi. Well, circumference is 2 times radius times pi. And it's actually already equal to 18 pi. So how do I solve for r? Well, we got to divide both sides by 2 pi. So those will cancel out, those will cancel out, but that means I got to divide this side by 2 pi. We're in luck. The pi's cancel, and the radius becomes 9. So then I can plug that into my area formula and do pi times 9 squared. Okay. On this one, notice this one had pi with it. This one does not. So if I was doing the exact same process, if this is my formula and it equals 389.56, when you divide both sides by 2 pi, on this one, my pi's don't cancel. So I've just got to do this in my calculator. And you need to type this in like this. You need to put 2 pi in parentheses so your calculator will follow order of operations and divide this entire thing into that. And you figure out that your radius here is actually 62, which is kind of nice. Then you're able to move on and do area equals pi times 62 squared. Type all that in your calculator and you get a large answer. Okay, so these problems again are given the circumference. You ought to be able to find the area. See if you can practice some of those there. Complete these 2 pages.